I was just on a video call with a friend of mine who's becoming a dean of students at a big private school, and will be following along a grade through their 5 years of school. And so we were talking about things that he's going to teach, and even things that he wants to talk to the parents about. And our discussion got me thinking that it might be valuable to share some of the insights and things we discussed with others, because I'm sure there are other coaches and teachers who might benefit. And so he kind of was asking me, hey, if you had a group for 5 years, and you get to meet with everyone in that grade in small groups once a week, what would you teach? And so kind of my foundational pieces, if I was working with eighth graders and trying to impact their lives on throughout their high school career, would be to start with three foundational pieces. First is a growth mindset. And so there's a lot of great information out there, but Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, is a great place to start. But I would want to teach young people and start with the foundation of you've got to make mistakes, you have to welcome adversity, because that's where the learning is going to come, and you've got to approach everything you do with a growth mindset and always trying to get better. And so that would be kind of the beginning of my curriculum. The two other foundational pieces that I would establish and kind of build everything from, in addition to a growth mindset, would be number two would be empathy and perspective taking. So any of the things that I want to teach them later about becoming a better leader, about valuing diversity, about anything around social justice, first I think starts with empathy and perspective taking, and your ability to connect with other people and understand why they are the way they are, or take their perspective and try to see things through a different lens. And then the third foundational piece would be communication. And in that I would teach things like generous speaking and generous listening, and even discrediting mechanisms. So one of my favorite college courses was taught by Dr. James Bowley, and he was a fantastic facilitator. And he taught us, it was a course called Who Speaks for the Gods, and it was kind of an examination of different religions. And the beautiful thing he did as a facilitator is that we couldn't use discrediting mechanisms. And my buddy just asked him, what is that? And so basically, things like if someone expressed a perspective, you couldn't say, oh, well, that's not true because, or, oh, that doesn't make sense, or that's stupid because, or that would never work. Those are all discrediting mechanisms. And so what's interesting is when you remove those, it really ties into empathy and perspective taking, because you can't discredit someone else's perspective. You can share your own perspective, but you can't discredit theirs, and beginning your statement with something that discredits theirs. And so many young people begin conversations or debates with discrediting the other person's perspective, and then not only does that shut off potentially them listening to your perspective, but it hinders your ability to lead them. So I would teach generous speaking, generous listening, and kind of eliminate the use of discrediting mechanisms. And those three things, so communication, empathy, perspective taking, and growth mindset, is what I would build for everything else from. And so we talked also a bit about him meeting with the teachers. Meeting with the parents. And I think one thing to be really important if I'm meeting with parents, whether it's my team, whether it's my group of students that I'm teaching, is setting really clear expectations of, hey, this is the journey I'm going to bring your young sons and daughters on over this course of time, and here's what's going to be taught in that period. So that's what's going to happen, right? Show them that journey, and then how are we going to do it? And so he's going to be implementing several things around a celebration culture, around affirmation, around getting to know people. And so the how you do it, whatever culture of goodness you create will be different for each person. But I think sitting down with those parents, showing them the journey, one, will show them how prepared you are and how intentional you are. But then two, setting clear expectations of the boundaries that you're going to exist with them. And so we talked a little bit about, encouraging them not to be, whether you're up north, they call it snowplow parents, or I've heard it lawnmower parents, parents who just, they mow down any adversity before it reaches their child. And so part of that growth mindset is actually having adversity, and adversity being necessary for young people to learn how to get through that. And so I think that would be a really clear expectation I would set with parents, that, hey, I am not only going to welcome adversity, at times I am going to make it more difficult on your young sons and daughters for this exact purpose. And hey, once I show you the full journey, then there's more trust that what I'm doing has an intention and has a purpose behind it. And so I think parents that may tend to be the hovering helicopter or lawnmower parents are more likely to buy in. And then the other thing that I would do with in addition to setting your own boundaries, and so everyone's boundaries are different, but communicating your boundaries of how am I going to communicate to you as parents, how am I going to communicate to your sons and daughters, what are my expectations of how your sons and daughters are going to communicate to me, what are my expectations of how you as parents are going to communicate to me. I think in addition to setting those clear boundaries, setting the expectation that, hey, as parents, we're actually working in opposition if I am allowing your sons and daughters to find their way through adversity and you're mowing down that adversity and those obstacles before or as your son or daughter reaches them. And so I think setting that clear expectation can be really powerful with working with parents to help their young people grow. And at the end of the day, parents want what's best for their kids and they want their kids to grow. And so I think it just takes that trust and that knowing that, hey, this other adult has my child's best interest. Because at the end of the day, it takes a village, and I think the beautiful thing about teachers is that we can impact young people in a way that often parents can't, and just sometimes young people need it from a different voice or from a different perspective. And so I think that's the beautiful way that, we can all help raise better children in our world. But I think setting really clear expectations and having that boundary meeting and also being really prepared and really transparent with parents on the journey that you're going to lead their young people through can cause for a much better interaction, a much better year, a much better season. So hopefully that's beneficial, coaches and teachers or facilitators of any kind. I just thought I would share it while it was fresh in my mind.